innovations creep up on us, and after one generation or two generations, there will be the parts will be added to the prayer. When you're by yourself, wonderful, make tasbih and dhikr and sujoods and anything you want to do. But when we're in a group, you saw that you really go to unusual lengths to immediately after say Assalamu alaikum, I say congratulations. When I'm by myself, I make dua and tasbih and extra sujoods or whatever I want to do, whatever I feel like, and it is not a set thing. No, you don't count. No, you make tasbih, you don't count. That will distract you. But I don't know if it is an Iranian habit of making sujood after the salam, or what. Do you always do that? Everybody does that? Almost.
Yes. You're talking about
after you say Assalamu alaikum, or after you finish the salam, everybody makes sujood. See, it became part of the salat in Iran, and they may bring it to us. This will cause the number of sujoods to be numerically unbalanced, to be numerically wrong. Not that you can do it by yourself. When you're by yourself, you do it and you feel like falling prostrate, do it. But it becomes a part and parcel of the prayer. And then you don't have 4 sujoods. In the morning we did 4 sujoods. Because God is so great, if we are in sujood from birth to death, that is not sufficient to really express our devotion to God. Therefore, it is a numerical structure, and it is a symbolic thing. So 2 more sujoods will not do anything as far as expressing our servitude to God. So everything is numerical with the prayer. The ruku', the sujood, the letters, the words. So just when we are in public, let us just stick to the prayer. Otherwise, before you know it, will be parts added to the salah. And believe me, I resist making prayers and things after the prayer, just because of that point, when we're in public. If I made prayers, then it will take only a short time, and then everybody after salam will go and make prayers and so on, and then it will become part and parcel of it. That's the prayer. Page 418. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. O you Prophet, observe God and do not obey the disbelievers and hypocrites. God is omniscient, most wise. I'm going to stop right here. This is to the Prophet Muhammad. He was the last prophet, and God uses him as an example for the rest of us. Observe God, ittaqillah, be righteous, be conscious of God. It doesn't mean that he was not, but it's a commandment for him and for us to observe God in everything we do, everything we say. Do not obey the disbelievers and hypocrites. The disbelievers and hypocrites, when they give up on you and they find that your argument is very strong and unbeatable in the Quran, they'll tell you, you worship Rashad Khalifa, or you follow Rashad Khalifa. They play on your last god, which is ego. So do not obey the disbelievers and hypocrites, because they are the ones who will utter that statement. When a person utters that statement, they know full well we worship God alone, and we do not follow Rashad Khalifa or worship Rashad Khalifa. We follow what God says. Rashad Khalifa says anything, it's not in the Quran. You will be the first to tell him, this is not in the Quran, why do you say that? And it is your duty not to obey it if it is not in the Quran. And as a matter of fact, in this surah, it says, do not follow the Prophet Muhammad, talking about the Prophet. So do not obey him if he's saying something that is not righteous, something that is not in the Quran, in other words. I forget which verse it is, but we may come to it today. Do not obey the disbelievers and hypocrites. When they tell you you follow Rashad Khalifa, you just look at them and smile, because this reveals their stupidity. We're going out of our way to destroy idols, not to make idols. Our only God is God. And we have reached the conviction in our hearts that God alone possesses all power. We reach the conviction in our hearts that no saint, no prophet, no Muhammad, no Jesus, no Rashad Khalifa, no anybody, no one other than God can guide us. I think it was a good demonstration at the conference that I see people whom I love fall fall by the wayside. And obviously I can't do anything to help them because it's between them and God. If they don't have the conviction in their hearts, there is nothing in the world I can do or anybody else can do to save them. And God gave examples in the Quran. Noah's son, does Noah love his son? Noah, one of the great prophets, couldn't help him. Abraham, how about Abraham? How close is Abraham to God? As close as can be, right? I mean, if anyone get very close to God, will be probably as close as Abraham. I don't want to make it a rule. We may be closer than Abraham to God. We have to hold out that possibility. But Abraham's father is going to hell, and God reprimanded Abraham for asking forgiveness for his father. God loves Abraham very much, and Abraham asked God to forgive his father, but he could. God reprimanded Abraham. So we are people who know full well that no human being, certainly not Rashad Khalifa, can help you in anything except give you the message, do this with you, discuss it with you. This is all we can do. Therefore there is no idol worship. Therefore when they tell you you worship Rashad Khalifa, you smile at them. They are not even worth 1 second of your time. O you prophet, observe God and do not obey the disbelievers and hypocrites. God is omniscient, most wise. What does God is omniscient mean? In Arabic, Alim. If you read the Arabic, you see it there, Alim and Hakima. This means God knows what's in your heart. They may say you worship Rashad Khalifa, but God knows that in your heart you don't. We love each other a lot, but that is not idol worship. We love each other because God made it a law that we are a family. Surah 49. إنما المؤمنون إخوة. The believers are brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters for eternity love each other. And don't confuse this with idol worship. Idol worship is simply knowing that this person can help you, guide you, or help your health, or help in any other way other than share the message with you. God is omniscient, most wise. Number 2, follow what is revealed to you from your Lord. Straightforward, clear. This is what we follow. We do not follow Muhammad or Jesus or any human being. So when they try to poke your ego and say you follow this or that, it doesn't bother you, because God knows that we don't follow any human being. We follow what is revealed to us from our Lord. Follow what is revealed to you from your Lord. God is fully cognizant of everything you all do.
Question.
Yes, sir.
You said we follow what's revealed to you from the Lord. Of course, we would not follow the as you just mentioned.
Exactly.
But in reference to previous scriptures, recorded and defaced as they've been, this would also include them after having learned Al-Quran.
Yes.
Because this is the Ambayina, the distinguishes and corrects them.
Yes.
So this entails that reading between the lines, what is implied is that we can read all of these previous scriptures, the book of the Jews and Christians and so
Yes.
forth and others.
Because God's truth is there.
Through all of them. There's
Yes.
a line of reasoning and principles.
God's truth is there and is beautiful. And the human injections are very obvious. They have stamped stupidity on it. It's very clear.
They will go through them and pick out the truth as it goes
Right.
along.
Using the Quran as a criteria.
Allah as the criteria.
The Quran is the ultimate reference. Surah 5 verse 48. The Quran is the ultimate reference. If it contradicts the Quran, doesn't agree with the Quran, then it is out. The last few days we talked about Abraham's courage versus the Bible's Abraham's cowardice. So it's obvious if the Quran tells us Abraham was courageous, then Abraham was courageous. That's just one example. Follow what is revealed to you from your Lord. God is fully cognizant of everything you all do. You shall put your trust in God. God suffices as an advocate. You don't want to appease any human beings. When they tell you you follow Rashad Khalifa or you idol worship Rashad Khalifa and it bothers you, then you have an ego. Because you're worried what the people are saying. We don't give a damn what the people are saying. We know what we're doing, we know what we believe. and it doesn't bother us what the people think of us. You would never please the people. Anyway, they're very jealous of you. Surah 2 says they're very jealous of you. They want you to be a disbeliever like we are, so you should be equal. You know, they actually, ironically, they know you're on the right path. They know. You're telling them La ilaha illallah, but they can't overcome their God, their ego, to agree with you. It's arrogance and ignorance that is killing them. Arrogance, that they are jealous of you, they don't want to agree with you because it hurts their ego. And it's ignorance because they don't realize that they should kill their ego in order to save their soul, in order to go save themselves, their own necks. Oh, he's going in the corner. Now, before verse 4, we have a subtitle saying devotion to God is indivisible. God did not give any man two hearts, nor did he turn your wives whom you estrange according to your custom into your mothers, nor did he turn your adopted children into genetic offspring. All these are mere utterances that you have invented. God speaks the truth and he guides in the right path. We have several things in this verse. First of all, our devotion must be to God alone. You don't have two hearts in your chest. Your heart belongs to God. And there's a very good expression in Luke 12:29. Luke 12:29, if you can make a note of it. It says, seek God's kingship over you and everything else follows. So when you give your heart to God, your spouse will love you, for example. You see the connection? Everything else, your boss will love you. Everything else will be at your disposal. I'm going to stop this. Luke 12:28. I'm going to start with that. Says, if God clothes in such splendor the grass of the field, which grows today and is thrown on the fire tomorrow, how much more will he provide for you, O weak in faith? 29. It is not for you to be in search of what you are to eat or drink. And listen to this sentence. Stop worrying. It's two words. Stop worrying. 30. The unbelievers of this world are always running after these things. Your Father, should be your God, knows that you need such things. Seek out instead his kingship over you, and the rest will follow in turn. You don't need to worry about provisions or jobs or anything. In your life, God must be the only priority. You know, you work your day schedule around the 5 prayers, not the other way around. You know, people say, I can do the noon prayer because I'm busy doing this and that. They should say that I can't do my work because I'm doing the noon prayer. When the Bible says what? No, it is not. It's a misunderstanding of the languages. Because Rabbi and Rabbi, they confuse Rabb, the Lord, and Rabb means father. I don't know how it is in Iran, but in Arabic, the head of the family is called Rabb al-Usra, Lord. But so they can confuse that. You know, if they look at it, say the God of the family, but it is not the God of the family; it's the head of the family. I don't know if you use that expression in Iran. The head of the family is Rabb or Lord. No, good. We have that in Arabic, and we have it even in the Quran in Surah 12, where Yusuf tells the man, "Go to your Lord," meaning your boss, and use the word Rabbika. He said, "Go to Rabbika, your Lord, your Rabb, and tell him to get me out of here." And the other examples. So when it says your father, it's a wrong expression. It should be your God. So you give your heart to God and everything else will be yours. And then the next instruction in verse 4 talks about estranging the wife. So she's hanging, neither free to marry somebody else, nor enjoying the full rights of a wife. God is very strong on the side of the wife. Surah number 4 all has to do with the rights of women, because they have been oppressed all the time. It is a tremendous test for us men, and millions of the men are falling into it. So we really have to bend backward and go out of our way to remove that oppression or any hint of it. You know, we are stronger physically, we are the bread earners, and we tend sometimes to tyrannize them without even feeling it. So we have to watch for this. God is on the side of the oppressors, of the oppressed, and He is very harsh with the oppressors. Mercy and kindness are traits that God wants us to observe. So for our own neck, we have to go out of our way to be really kind and considerate of our spouses. We don't want to take them for granted, and we don't want to inflict any mental persecution on them, or physical, of course. Yeah.
Is God mean also that God did not give any man to wife, means one wife?
No, this has to do with devotion. This has to do with the wife, the business, things of this world. This means this is the first commandment. You must love God your Lord with all your heart, all your body, all your soul, all your strength. This is what it is. It has nothing to do with polygamy, no. And then the other idea in the same verse is you adopt a child and give him your name. Wrong. It says you adopted children are not your genetic children. You must preserve their lineage. The name you have in your birth certificate is the name God gave you, and it is David Plain. It's not really Dawood. God gave you the name David Plain. So when Islam came to this country, or when some people in this country turned to Islam, the Arabs took advantage of it and they gave them Arab names. Those are not Muslim names. You can find a counterpart in the Arab world who is the worst creature on earth with the same name as yours. Has nothing to do with Islam. I can show you a Sayyid Ahmed who is the worst woman on earth back then.
Brother Rashad,
Yes.
what happens in situations
The time, yeah, that's okay. It's okay. In fact, this is the way it's supposed to be.
I mean for the
But,
child.
for the child. Say it again. So give me a specific example.
A man and a woman have a conflict, they break up. Takes the child off to
Okay, if the child's lineage is known, if the child's father is known, you give the child the name of the father, the real father, regardless of if he's with the man or the woman, or after divorce or before divorce or when. But if the child's lineage is not known, then you can give him your name if you want to. It's going to come up here. It's coming up in verse 5. Do not change your names. You shall give your adopted children names that preserve their relationship to their genetic fathers. This is more equitable in the sight of God. If you do not know their fathers, then as your brethren in religion, you shall treat them as members of your family. You do not commit a sin if you make a mistake in this respect. You are only responsible for your actual intentions. God is forgiver, most merciful. I'm telling you, we are very guided people, alhamdulillah, by God's grace. I mean, we are enjoying God's guidance because we have living examples that teach us. When I first, I was talking about this 10 years ago, and I think Baba may remember that I theorized that theoretically a brother and sister can marry each other because of this change of names. They don't have their common last name because they were adopted. This girl went to this family and this boy went to this family, and they have now their family's names, adopted names. And then they grow up, they go to college, they meet each other, and they fall in love, and they marry. There's a brother and sister marrying each other because they don't have the names. You know something? This actually happened. And one of the people that came to the conference, I don't know if she wants me to say this or not, but her sister married her brother. They actually got married. I mean, how rare can this be? What's the chance? I was saying it as a theory, maybe 1 in a million. But turns out that it actually happened. I don't think she minds, but it's Movelle. Remember Movelle tape? One of her sisters married one of her brothers. And they found out, they broke up the marriage. Yeah, they found out and they immediately separated, heartbroken and everything. But her sister met somebody in the market, I believe another sister, who knows the brother. So I said, I haven't seen you in a couple of years, how are you doing? Well, I said, oh, I got married and this and that, and updated the information. And then when she saw the husband, she said, oh my gosh, this is our brother. Because this is the sister that she knows, and this is the brother who knows. And it was quite a shock. And it's because of the changing of names. Now if they had the same names, if Rashad Khalifa meets Safiya Khalifa, we'll say, hey, wait a minute, you may be my sister. And we'll investigate.
So then the offspring that has the mother's name, the rest should have the father's name.
Yes, should have the father's name, if the father is known. I think the commandment is very clear. And it's difficult, you know. Chester for a long time has been known as Khalifa Abdul Rahim. He got used to the name. It's not easy to give up a thing like this. It's been my experience. Douglas Brown, it took me 3 years to talk him out of his name. And I was I'm laughing because he had a lot of pain that snapped him out of that name one time.
She was quite sure that the problems that he was going through was related to his
yeah, the connection was unmistakable.
to change his name.
Yes. Did he tell you?
Well, he didn't give me all the details, but he told me one biological.
Right. Okay. Yeah, the connection was very strong. For example, the day before I told them straightforward, say, Douglas, you have to change your name. Of course, I forced the name on them. I call you Chester.
Yes, no, I'm laughing because the term force.
Yes.
Because that's, but it's not only just because of the New York area also. I think it is there also from the very beginning. It was imposed on me.
Right.
Calling us my name. Because right from the very outset, I think in the first meeting there in the New York area, in Long Island, they found out my name.
Yes.
Gary.
They started calling you Chester.
First of all, to tell them, you know, but thereafter they called me Chester.
Wonderful.
White.
Wonderful.
They'll
This
call
helps
me
you.
Brother White. You know, they have to. You know, I take it all in stride.
Yes.
At one time, I sort of resented it, but for the most part, I took it in stride.
Yes.
And it's becoming more now palatable.
Yes.
And,
this is because we insist on calling you Chester. See? After a while, you have no choice.
Yes.
And you get used, you know, you get
but
used
there was
to the
no
name.
compulsion there, so well, Priest felt they are sensitive, but I see the understanding.
God rewards you for it because what you're doing, you're giving up your personal desires for what God is saying.
That's what's uppermost in my mind.
We all do that.
Rashad, I had to go do the same thing to my job.
Yes.
You know, like what the one thing, you know, the questions they're going to be asking me.
Right.
You know.
What happened? You know? They tell you, ask you, what happened?
You know, what happened? You know, they think you're not balanced.
Yes.
What I'm looking at also is my family, my brothers, my sisters, and my mother, and my relatives and so forth, because they're saying, well, it must be very fickle, it must be very off because of changing its name, first of all, to an Arabic name, then it's going to change back. You can't make up your mind.
Right.
What's the problem with that? What's
Right.
wrong with that
You
religion?
tell them. You tell them. Tell them I found out that God says. Amen. That used to be her.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I
Right.
just said it.
Oh.
Yes.
And at work, I had the same problem at work, and it gave me an opportunity to
is that, I've been told I had to change my name. And I did it because I was told I had to, but I discovered that that's not necessary. That most homes keep their name.
Yeah.
It allows a conversation that many people don't, but it's not a conversation where you have to change your name because it's different. You remain the same person.
Yes. The change is in your soul, or in your heart, the invisible part.
Well, actually,
It's not in the visible part.
I think you'll find it very complicated.
Yes.
It's a little scary.
No, let's take Douglas Brown, for example. There's a Douglas Brown Senior who raised Douglas Brown Jr., for example. And it was heartbreaking for them for Douglas Brown Senior to find that his son is now Rashid Hamid. There's no connection with him whatsoever. So when Douglas changed back to his name, they were very happy. The parents were very happy because they gained their son back. There's some kind of, shall I use the word pride, in raising your children and having them named after you. It is not fair to the parents to strip them of that. My father is Abdul Halim Khalifa and I'm Rashad Khalifa, and he's kind of proud that, I raised this son. Then all of a sudden I am Ali Ahmed. So, yes, even the women when they get married should keep their names. But here in this country, it's I don't know. There's some inconveniences that go along with that. The check accounts, I don't know, civil laws.
If you go to take a loan, husband and wife, and they have different
Yes.
names, they may,
Right.
now if they're married and they want additional security or something, then they can get living together.
Right. See, once they're married, I mean, this is common sense now. Because of the laws here, again, this will fall under the part in the Quran that says if you're forced by circumstances, without being malicious or deliberate, then you are not committing a sin. So I will go along with changing the wife's name if she so wills. A compromise would be to keep the name of the family and the husband's family. For example, Batul's last name was what? The maiden name. Huh? This why you laugh? Sajadina? Sajadina. Okay, so it will be Batul Sajadina Karmallo. That will be the compromise.
Or maybe father's name is
Well, you guys in India and Pakistan don't have last names. You don't have last names. Really?
The middle name is father.
I had a friend from Pakistan, his name was Salahuddin. I say, Salahuddin in Egypt, or Arabia, it's the first name, it's one name. So it's Salahuddin. I say, what's your last name? He says, Salahuddin. So what's your first name? Salahuddin. Hey, wait a minute. I said, Salahuddin is your name, right? What's your last name? He said, this is it. We don't have last name. Apparently it's very common in
that's very
Pakistan.
strange.
It is. Yes. Yes.
Sharif
Yes.
is first name?
No, Muhammad Sharif. Yes. But
So
then
Sharif
all
is not
of them,
he uses the last name.
all of them are Muhammads.
But Rafiq is
Muhammad Rafiq.
Yeah, so his last name is Rafiq. They don't have a common.
But it's really his first name. He's Pakistani, right? See? You don't have last names. So it all depends on the countries. Yes.
I think that you go to the region.
Yes.
Those who come from Punjab,
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Yes,
Punjab
it's
is
very
now
possible.
related to the Sikhs, but there was a West Punjab and East Punjab, or North Punjab and South Punjab. Now those who came from Punjab and practiced even among the people who live in the Indian Punjab, even though they are not Sikhs,
Yes.
they do not use the surname. And I don't, or if they do, then they don't use the father in invariably they never use the father's name. Because I think this certainly comes back.
So it depends on the region then.
That's right.
This is true all over the world. But when we conform to God's law here, it's just God understands, and you have to remember that not being malicious or deliberate. You're not being malicious or deliberate. These two things must be there to qualify for permission. Number 6, the Prophet is closer to the believers than they are to each other. And his wives are like their mothers. Those who are related to each other shall take care of one another in accordance with God's scripture. Thus the believers shall take care of their relatives who immigrate to them, provided they have taken care of their own families first. These are commandments of this scripture. Anytime we see the word prophet in Arabic Nabi, it has to do with local incidents involving the Prophet Muhammad when he was alive. But you can always use that as examples. This is what they are in the Quran, because the Quran is for all times. So here the Prophet is closer to the believers than they are to each other, because the Prophet was receiving the Quran and delivering God's commandments to the people, which have to do with eternal existence. Our physical relatives are our relatives in this temporary life. If they become believers, they become our eternal family. Another factor enters in the picture. I want to go to the next verse, which is very important. It has to do with the covenant that the prophets made, because in the September issue of 88 Perspective, they published an article, somebody published an article that Muhammad was the messenger of the covenant, which is very wrong. Because God said, 381, God said He made a covenant with the prophets. Since Muhammad was the last prophet, therefore he was included. God didn't say He made a covenant with the previous prophets or the prophets before Muhammad. He said He made a covenant with the prophets, that the messenger will come after them to unify their message. Therefore Muhammad is not that messenger. The messenger comes after Muhammad. But they established this lie that Muhammad is the last messenger, and they stick to it without any basis whatsoever. They have no basis. So God wills to put in 33:7, Surah 33, which is the other end of the Quran, practically, that Muhammad was one of the prophets involved in that covenant. So let us read number 7. It says, recall that we took from the prophets their covenant, indicating it is one covenant, because they will also try very hard to go to hell and tell you there were more than one covenant. There wasn't. There was just one covenant, including a pledge from you, Muhammad, and from Noah, Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, the son of Mary. We took from them a solemn pledge. And you notice every name mentioned here is a prophet, because there were messengers who did not deliver scriptures, like Salih, Hud, Lot. You don't see Lot here, or Salih, or Hud. So these are prophets who brought scriptures. Yeah, he brought the gospel. Yes. It was not an out-of-body experience. I had an out-of-body experience that I did deliberately, so briefly. But yes, anybody can do it. Yes, it's the nature of things. That was I was taken up to somewhere in the universe. No, just the prophets. Yes.
I'm just wondering, like in the universe, the body goes, isn't there a lot of forces that can affect the body? Is it easier and faster for the soul to go?
Well, do you think if God wants to talk to Feroz Karmali and wants the person Feroz, do you think He can take care of the body? Yeah. You're right. There are forces, but at that time, remember, all of us have guards.
No, but wasn't your body just lying down there?
I was just lying in bed with the radio on my chest, listening to
So your body then didn't go up, right?
Of course not.
Okay.
It can't be.
It's just the soul went up.
Yeah, the body cannot go up there.
Okay, that's what I was saying.
There's no way. First of all, the body needs oxygen.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. And the minute you go up 50,000 feet, there's no oxygen.
Isn't that really an out-of-body experience because you got out of your body?
In a sense, yes. I'm amazed at the way Batul said it. When you think about it, it really is an out-of-body experience. But it's a deliberate
in other words, you didn't
travel.
You didn't deliberately have a out-of-body experience, which is snatched up.
Yes, I was summoned. Use the word summoned.
Now she asked the question, would these all prophets that you saw?
Yes, I saw them all. I was told after the announcement that your experience in Mecca was that was fulfillment of the covenant of all the prophets. I was told then that those are all the prophets. So this is when I came back, I told my father, guess what? I just met all the prophets. And he said, how? And I explained to him what I explained to you yesterday. I told them exactly what I saw.
$24,000 They have this hadith saying the 100,000
No.
prophets. I think all the prophets are mentioned in Quran, are they not?
No,
No.
not all of them.
Not all the prophets?
No.
Because all the messengers are not, I know.
However, God says messengers. However, some of these messengers may have been prophets. I don't know. He said messengers that we told you about, messengers we never told you about.
Some could have been prophets.
Yes.
How many approximately did you see, do you know?
I'd say 20, between 20 and 30.
And how many are in the Quran? Mentioned in the Quran?
About 18, 19.
So there may have been a few more.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, the prophet brings a new scripture, a new message. The messenger confirms existing scriptures, preaches existing scriptures. He does not bring anything new.
every prophet or something.
Every prophet brings a new scripture. We're using the word prophet for the Arabic word Nabi, because the English usage of the word prophet is not the same as Nabi. This, what, 6:30? Is it 6:30? You want to have some breakfast before you go? Some cereal or something? I know.
Scripture doesn't have to be a book.
No, the word scripture, like for example, Abraham's scripture is all practical.
Because the word
Nothing
kitab,
written.
the word kitab means
I-
book, right?
I know.
The word kitab means book.
Scripture, yes.
What means scripture?
Script is writing. So the word scripture is not really accurate. Message would be a more appropriate word, don't you think, Chester?
Message
Yeah.
for the word.
For example, Abraham brought to us the Salat prayer, the Zakat charity, the Fasting of Ramadan. They're all practical things that were not written down. What do you call that? What did Abraham receive? If you say scripture, script means writing. There was nothing written.
Scripture would entail more a body of writing.
Right,
A body of writing.
right. Which Abraham did not receive.
Okay, and script itself could be a page of writing.
Right.
One individual document or
Right.
something of that
Right.
nature.
So what would be the best word to express what Abraham was given?
Something that oral.
Something that God gave him to deliver to us. And it is all practices, a good word. No, but
Instruction.
from God, a message. I think the message is
Body of laws.
from God.
Revelation.
Anyway, we understand what it is, but we call it scripture because the word scripture has to do with holy revelations from God. So when they argue with you and say Muhammad was not one of those prophets, you show them 33:7, which is what I did in the perspective. I gave them the answer, and I tell you, I haven't heard a word from them since then. It's been a year plus. It's been 1 year and 2 months, and haven't heard a single word. They were really belligerent. This is the Muslim Digest magazine in South Africa, from South Africa.
Written
By
by
the Indian.
Quran Sura.
Yeah, not a word, Ahmed. They said nothing. Because what can they say? The evidence is very clear. There's nothing you can say. Muhammad is one of the prophets who made the covenant. Therefore, the messenger who comes after the prophet must be separate from not Muhammad. Sure.
Perhaps you may like to consider this when you are making provision. Especially in terms of messenger of the prophet. Now, somebody sent me a book explaining, it's an Iranian publication, saying, look, you're saying messenger of the covenant, and you're saying there's one covenant, and so forth. And he sent me a book describing what their point of view was of the covenant, of covenants,
Yeah.
and the distinction between ahad, mustaq, and ishar. There are three different words. I mean, I particularly
Are these Arabic words?
Yes, the Arabic words, so I wrote them down.
Ahad.
AHD, I wrote it down. M-I-S.
Ahd. Okay.
M-I-T.
Mithaq.
Mithaq.
Okay.
And Isr, I-S.
Yes. Okay. Ahd, Mithaq, and Isr.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, it's the book on covenants.
Yes.
It's still with me.
Is it in response to message of the covenant announcement? Or just a general?
It's published by the Shia.
I'd like to see it.
They play
And I'll
before.
Xerox it and
Huh?
send it.
They play before.
Yes.
So there are three
Yeah,
different words
semantics.
in the Quran. They point
Yes.
out. And, so when I said message of the covenant, okay, he's close to the Shia faith.
I am close to the Shia faith.
Yes. No, no.
Sure.
Yeah, fine. So you said the booklet to me and still with me. I must make it. It's not that borrowed. I can say what I wanted to say was that maybe you could give what the entire covenant was. It was one covenant, and therefore what the full covenant was as revealed in the Quran or whatever that you would give might help to.
Yeah. Well, you see, there is really no argument as far as this is concerned, because the same word is used
Yes.
in 381 and in 33:7. God said He made a covenant. It's a very strong word.
Yes, it's much
Yeah.
stronger than agreements and arrangements. So
Yes.
in other words, I think means those sort of
Pledge
things.
may be a better word.
Yes.
Pledge.
Yes.
And the prophets pledged, and they fulfilled their pledge.
Yes. While the Quran, I think these other words also occur.
Yes. For example, with Ibrahim, it's ahd.
Yes.
So with the prophets, it was mithaq.
Yes.
The sealing of that covenant on December 21st.
Mithaq is stronger. Pardon?
That sealing of the covenant that took place December 21st.
1971. Yes.
And Rashad, exactly.
Oh, it's right here in the footnote.
When you show them the Muslim Surah 30 ayah 81 that this is the messenger and they say this is Muhammad.
I know. Yeah.
And when you show them the Bible that after Jesus come another prophet, this is very clear. Same thing, they say no, this is Jesus.
Yes.
Same thing.
Yes.
Yes, but how could Jesus?
The human
Jesus
eyes.
is the father. He's the son of God. How could he be a messenger?
Yes.
Either you give up as a messenger or you give up.
They want-
Then it's John.
Yes.
The Baptist.
They want their cake and eat it too. Footnote 33:7.
Yeah, but they foxed me back saying, oh, this is John the Baptist.
Right. Anything to go to hell. You know? They'll try anything. Page 419 at the bottom, 33:7. This verse refers to the covenant that is detailed in 381. God took a covenant from the prophets that they shall support His messenger of the covenant, who would come after them, and is destined to unify their messages under the banner of worshipping God alone. The specific identity of that messenger and details of incontrovertible supporting evidence are given in Appendixes 2 and 26. The covenant was made before creation and was finally fulfilled in Mecca, December 21, 1971, Dhul Hijjah 3, 1391. It's amazing. When you add 12, Dhul Hijjah is the month, the number is 12 plus 3 is 15 plus 1391, you get, what do you get? 46. 19 times 74. Wow. 1974 is when the miracle was finally materialized. And Surah 74 is where the number 19 is mentioned. You see the connections? Pardon? Yes, it is somewhere. But look at the end of the footnote. On page 419, at the bottom of the footnote, in parentheses, Dhul Hijjah 3, 1391. This was the Tuesday during Hajj when I was in Mecca. I mean, there is no mistake about the date. I shared with you how God made me remember these things. Dhul Hijjah, the number of the month is 12. The day is 3. The year is 1391. When you add 12 plus 3 plus 1391, you get 1406, which equals 19 times 74. And Surah 74 is where the number 19 is mentioned. 1974 is the year when the miracle materialized, January 1974. Was also the Hijjah of another year. So the connections are just very strong. God's proof is not subtle. God's proof is very, very overwhelming.
One question you can ask is, prophets who are alive in another dimension, somewhere else, support somebody.
Right. We answered this question yesterday. I guess you were not here. Okay, we are thinking our limited, very limited existence here. But the fact is, all the people who came to this world and departed are now existing in another world.
Right.
So what are they doing? Think they're doing work like this? Waiting. But those are souls. and they have obviously have lots of activities going on, and sooner or later we will join them. So there must be a lot of people over there, believers, who are yeah.
This world or this experience that you no longer conscious and that you
Yeah.
like that of a day.
Yes. This may be referring to the body. We're coming into a lot of understanding about this. Let us share the verses that deal with this, because this is the best way to deal with it. You know, this is something that I learned from that experience, and I didn't come to realize it until after the announcement. And so we are now discussing it logically. Okay, let's look at 3:169. Is this what you said? 3:169. Surah 3:169 would be page what? 72. Wow. I opened the book, by the way, and it came right there. So this is a good sign. Alhamdulillah. This means God wants us to discuss this matter now. Do not think that those who are killed in the cause of God are dead. They are alive and their Lord being provided for. Now, the idol worshippers actually abuse this verse a lot. And they go to the body of the saint, and which is nothing, and they plead for help. Now this is the wrong understanding of the verse. They are alive at their Lord. They forget this expression, عند ربهم, at their Lord. It's very crucial to understand that. Not here. So like David was saying, they're unconscious, they're nothing, they're a piece of earth as far as the body is concerned. But the persons themselves obviously exist somewhere, and I bore witness to this. They're alive being, that consciousness was very sharp over there. It was very sharp. There was not a word spoken. There was communication going on, at least when Abraham came in. So what does this say? Do not think, this is for you and me, we should not think that those who are killed in the cause of God. Now this is referring to those who are killed in the cause of God, but it really is general. Includes all the righteous. I have to show you another verse that what I'm telling you now. All the righteous, all the believers, and of course the prophets are among them, have this applying to them. Don't think that they are dead. They are alive at their Lord, being provided for. So to complete the picture, let us look at this verse in Surah 4. 69. Wow, 169 and this is 69. 469. In fact, so if you add the digits, 469 adds to 19. Also 3169 adds to 19. You see that? This adds 3, Surah 3 verse 169 adds to 19, the digits. And verse 4 verse 69, Surah 4 verse 69 also add up to 19. Page 90. 69. I mean, God gives us these mathematical connections to tell us something. Okay, 69 says, equality of believers. Those who obey God and the messenger belong with those blessed by God, the prophets, the saints, the martyrs, and the righteous. So all these are alive at their Lord, being provided for. I think this is also a very significant expression, being provided for. So in other words, the believers have... there's one more thing that I must share with you. So now we should not think of the believers and the righteous as dead. Okay? We're talking about the real persons, not the bodies. The bodies are a piece of stone. And this is what the idol worshippers go to. And these are utterly unaware, just like this carpet is unaware. So the one more thing that I want you to look at is in Surah 40. And the key word is Arada. give you the verse number in Surah 4. 40? It's 46. Verse 40, 46. Page 472. Thank you. 472, verse 46 says, a continuous nightmare. The hell will be shown to them day and night, and on the day of resurrection admit Pharaoh's people into the worst retribution. Okay, so these people are the disbelievers. This is now the other side of the coin. The disbelievers see hell every day, but they don't go in it until the day of resurrection. Okay?
Hell not yet existing?
It doesn't exist yet. But they are told, they know. In other words, they say you're going to go to hell and it is this and that. There's consciousness. Huh? Yes. Yes. Oh yes. It is known. That's it. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. And the people destined for heaven are in their existence. So to answer Firuz's question, how will the Prophet support the message of the covenant? Well, I'm going to join them someday, and that's for all practical purposes. The time is very, very short. So what are they doing?
So then they will support.
No, they did already. They bore witness. It doesn't matter that.
That kind of support. Okay,
Yeah.
just agreed with you or pledged their
Yes.
support.
They know that we exist in the world somewhere, but they had to fulfill their covenant, and that happened in Dhul Hijjah. 1406, Dhul Hijjah 1391. So God, in essence, God brought the message of the covenant to them. This is the message of the covenant. Do you agree? Do you fulfill your covenant? So they came one by one. They said yes. And now they are talking with each other. Obviously, there's a society up there, an eternal society.
There could be two more ways, objective. One could be that they are praying to God.
Yes.
And two, while they were there on this earth, they left messages which would link up with the message of the covenant, like Jesus spoke of the message of the covenant or the Old Testament. So they would know this, the book of Malachi.
Malachi.
I mean, they left the words behind.
Yes.
To support you.
Also, we have to think from their point of view. Okay. From their point of view, I think God is doing them a favor by letting them know that you guys delivered messages to the people, and now we're going to unify. In other words, it's a piece of news to them also. It's a favor to them. So we're sending a messenger also to unify your messages. So in order to become aware of it, because they are not aware of what's happening on earth. They don't know who the President of the United States is, or who is ruling India at this time, and they don't give a damn. They don't care. Earth is a tiny, tiny thing, and it's a very limited existence down here. But it is a favor to them to let them know what is going on as far as their messages were concerned. For example, if your company sends you somewhere to design a chemical plant, so you go there and you get on the drawing board and you design the chemical plant and you give the plans to the people there, and then you go back to your headquarters, which is 10,000 miles away. Then someday the chairman of the board will call you and say, by the way, your plans that you drew for Guam were carried out and the plant was established and it is functioning very well now. Of course you'll be happy to know that. This is exactly like that. I just thought of this example on the spot. But it's exactly like this. They came down, they put the blueprints, they delivered messages, and it is nice to know that this message will be unified in one, and that the majority of human beings will be given that one message, etc., etc. It's like calling somebody in and says, remember those blueprints that you designed for Guam 10 years ago? The plant was built, it is now functioning, it is doing very well. So you say, thank you, sir. Okay, Lisa. I'm not going to say anything interesting. Don't worry. God bless you.
So as that not doesn't mean heaven or with God, like it's in
No.
this universe.
No, it's a limbo. It is wonderful for the believers, it is awful for the disbelievers. Cecilia, people know one of the best proofs that people know at the time of death, their destiny, is that God tells us that the angels beat up the disbelievers on the faces and the rear ends. Twice in the Quran.
Does death have anything to do with it?
It's invisible to us. The answer is yes.
No, I'm saying, in terms of how we leave this world,
Yes.
the type of death
Yes.
that occurs.
Okay, do you hear the question? Do you hear the question? Is the death different for the believers and disbelievers? The answer is yes, repeatedly in the Quran. Death for the believer is a wonderful experience. God says the angel gently called the soul, and God Himself is telling the soul, come back to your Lord, happy and joyous and satisfied. This for the believer. For the disbelievers, they beat him up and snatch the soul out. Yes, literally.
That could be like a murder or...
No. The method doesn't make any difference.
The type of death doesn't make a difference?
The type that we see
Yeah.
doesn't make any difference, because the nervous system shuts off immediately anyway.
In other words...
When God's prophets to Israel were killed, okay? But that's the outside appearance.
That doesn't mean that...
Doesn't mean anything. Yeah. What happens in the other dimension, which is invisible to us, is the real thing, and that's totally different. For the believer, it's a wonderful, beautiful experience. For the disbelievers, it's an awful experience, because they cling to the body and they refuse to leave. You don't want to go, and the angels say, "Let go of your souls." There's a verse that I want to remember. I want to share with you. I had it, but I forgot, and I remember it again.
Sorry.
Okay.
Does it mean the believer too can have a lingering painful death?
No.
As far as the body goes?
As far as the body goes, yes, but without feeling it. They will not feel it.
Meaning, slightly he would not have to have a long suffering illness.
Never. No suffering whatsoever. For the believer, no suffering whatsoever. No matter what the method of death is on the outside.
What about if he's under 40 and can he have a lingering death, painful death?
No. He'll be very happy. The person under 40 immediately realizes that God is taking him because he does not deserve to go to hell and live beyond 40 and go to hell.
Because I had an auntie who died at 39 and she had cancer and she went through quite a long process.
Well, this is like pains in this world. This will belong in the pains or tests. They are performing a function. When a child is born deformed and dies at the age of 14, that child performed a function, and in return, the real person, goes to heaven.
The body can suffer, but the soul won't suffer.
Right. We'll talk about the moment of death. I think that was David's question.
Yeah, because I can almost see that. I can see a healthy person with their soul suffering, miserable in his life.
Yeah. Well, the body doesn't mean a thing. Remember, there was a wave of reports on Eddie Murphy. He's healthy, he's wealthy, he's successful, he's rich, and miserable. Right? Because happiness is not a property of the body. Happiness is a function of the soul. And he said something is missing. He's got all the Rolls Royces, the Porsches and Mercedes that he wants, all the girls that he wants, all the money that he wants, mansions in New Jersey and California, and he's miserable. He said something is missing. So this is it's well known now that material success has nothing to do with happiness. Yes.
One day that someone argued with me about martyr.
About who? Martyr.
Martyr, yeah.
Okay.
And I explained for her, she didn't believe. And I asked, okay, do you believe Jesus was martyr? And she said, of course. And I showed this verse that Jesus said, I told.
Yes. I told them only what you commanded me to say. That you shall worship God, my Lord and your Lord. Yes. I was a witness among them for as long as I lived with them. When you put me to death, you became the watcher. Yes. For as long as I lived with them.
Yes.
Not after. Wonderful. Yes. Wonderful verse. A bit functions. Who created us? Let's say God number one. There's only one God. Who created us? Let's say it's God number one. Okay, so the question is, who created God? So God number two. God number one. So who created God number two? God number three. See, we're going along with an atheist who was asking this question. He says, if God created you, who created God? Say, okay, let's give him numbers. God number one created us. So say, okay, who created God number two? Number one. God number two. Who created God number three? God number four. Who created number four? God number five. Who created God number five? God number six. So this will lead to what? To an infinity of God. So mathematically, an infinity of God equals one God. There it is. There is one infinite God. Now we're talking about time frame. An infinity of God equals one infinite God.
So then this would be the concept of the circle itself. Because that's an infinite concept.
Yes.
So are
Because
you...
of that. But we're talking now about time, a time frame. We're not talking about physical presence. Also, we're trying to solve the problem of if God created you, who created God? We're going to end up with an infinity of God. Because now when you talk with an atheist who's asking this question, you have to take him step by step. Say, I'm saying that God created us. You say, okay, who created you? I said, well, then this number one God is created by number two God.
But Rashad, I'm still rather confused. Right? So I'm not even talking about, well, who created us. I understand that Allah
Yes, you asked
created
this
me.
question, which was good.
But I'm interested in the idea of God being physical form, number one, and if there's no idea or concept of infinity for God himself, okay, then this is saying that God had a birth. And if he had a birth, then our human concept would entail that he has a death. Or if there is just a birth concept for him and no death, okay.
So birth from what?
I don't know from what. You're telling me, wait a minute. You're saying that he is not infinite. And he, therefore, if he's
no,
not...
God is, I'm not telling you that. Don't listen to me.
Okay.
You listen to
the
what
Quran,
God is saying.
The Quran is saying.
Yes, God is saying, let's talk at Surah 53, for example. God says he took Muhammad up to give him the Quran. And then he came down until he became as close as possible. Let him meet to his servant Muhammad what did he do? Okay, you explain this to me. We have to believe that.
Can we not see that God is everything around us physical? Who brought this physical thing? God.
Is it the
so it means God
I
has...
don't deny
okay,
that
so
at
God
all.
has
Right. You
within
don't deny that God
himself
is physical, right?
the ability to
I
be
don't
physical.
deny that Allah has brought into being physical
Okay,
creation.
but what you are denying is that Allah has...
I'm not denying
Okay,
anything. I'm
No,
questioning.
no,
okay, listen.
Searching.
Now I'm saying then Allah has the ability within itself to manifest itself physically
I
if it
understand
does
that
this.
too.
So why? So then that's what it is. He's manifesting himself physically to us in the form that we will be able to handle. Because what's wrong with it? If he can...
No, wait, let me back up a little bit, okay? One of Satan's famous blasphemies is that God is a spirit that is devoid of physical power. You see the Christians doing this all the time. Say God is a spirit. God is not a spirit. God is the most physical of all physical things because He created the physical. He created this universe. God is very, 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 very infinite, very physical. So I think you have trouble with this concept.
Well, I don't have trouble with the concept once it is explained by a person who I believe would know the answer. That person would be yourself. If you explain it to me in a way that I understand it, well, you're close. You understand more about the Quran than any other.
I will try. What I'm saying is that I'm not saying anything of my own. Okay?
I understand.
All of us are referring to what God is telling us.
Okay.
We have to compare this with what Satan is telling us.
And what Satan has dictated to me, and which I've been believing up until this very moment,
Right,
was that God is, as you said, is in a spiritual form,
Right.
having nothing to do with the physical at all. Even though I understand wrong now.
Yes.
But that He did bring into being a physical creation,
Right.
even though He is some spiritual being, believing that He has that potential, that ability, because we're talking about continually the awesomeness of His power and His wisdom.
Okay, let's see how
That
God
He
tells
can
us how
say,
physical He is. Okay? The jinns, we do not see the jinns. We don't see the angels. We do not see God. And the Christian, the Judeo-Christian concept as it exists today, and even the Muslim concept, is that these are spiritual beings, right? No, he's a spiritual being who carried the palace of the Queen of Sheba 2,000 miles within a second. Before Solomon blinked his eye, he carried the palace like this. Now how physical can you get? Because it's not even like this. It's because the palace was carried intact.
Can we not say that God, with His power,
Yes.
to lift up those glasses from the floor without touching them? Would He have to necessarily have?
Well,
it would have to be a God that would come over and take a force.
Some physical force will have to be exerted on this glasses to carry it from one place to the other. Yes.
If God is a spirit, how can you enjoy when in the resurrection, day of resurrection, to see Him and enjoy Him?
Yes.
And
So we're talking about the
spirit,
dissolution of our physical bodies at that time, and that we, as we just went through a while ago, the interaction and the communication and identification of just spirit alone, without physical bodies. Physical bodies stay here, but we can see each other and identify each other spiritually, spiritual beings, souls.
Okay, Chester, let us lay down the principle that we have a message from God. God is telling straightforward things in this message. Straightforward principles in there. And straightforward information in the book. When we're growing up, Satan also is entitled to give us his message. He's giving us certain information. And most of this information has to do with God and confusing the issue for us. The way out of this dilemma is what?
The way out of the dilemma is to follow one and not the other.
Exactly. The way out of the dilemma is that you look at God's message, see what He's saying. Whatever God is saying is true, even if it contradicts what we grew up learning, because what we grew up learning is mostly Satan's education. Okay? So we look at Surah 53, we look at Surah 89, we look at Surah 7171, and the 89:22, and 53:9. All these are telling us that God is not physically here. We also learn that God is very physical. The most physical.
One of them is the seven heaven in the right hand.
Yeah, this here, yes, this is physical. This is physical.
Are we looking at God in the same aspect like when we look at our own physical selves, when we talk about Him being physical? Or you talking about energy?
Yes, I'll get to you. Just 1 second. I don't want to interrupt certain flow of the subject. Everything is physical. See the air, this air? What is air physical?
Okay,
Okay, you can take this volume of air and compress it, it become liquid, continue to compress it, it becomes solid. Because what you're doing, you're bringing the molecules together.
I think what we're asking is, will Allah manifest Himself as a piece of mass?
Yes, a physical presence of God, and a physical entity. And this is what God is teaching us. God is a physical entity.
Yes. There's something confusion, I think, for our brothers, that they understand it from physics and may understand the 104 elements. I think this is confusing them, but God, how do you say, we don't say God is consistent of atoms like iron or meat or these kind of things.
We don't know what the physical makeup of God is.
But we can see it.
What did you want to say?
Many people are considering God, there is a mass-being elements, atoms.
Right, this is what I didn't
This is
say.
wrong. Physical means you can feel, you can see, you can, how do you say?
That's what I'm asking.
Yes,
That's what I was asking.
you can say this is God, and you can enjoy it.
But you cannot. What I was saying was that we cannot look upon it as we look upon what we call our physical selves.
We don't know the fact in the hereafter how it will be. For example, if the baby in the belly of his mother, if you try to tell this baby about this world, give him information about this world, he cannot understand. His knowledge limited by darkness and very small thing, and there is heat. He doesn't know cold, what is cold. He doesn't know what is light. He doesn't know what is
human look like.
You cannot.
What the car looks like. Or
When you tell me that Allah has so much energy that He cannot withstand the physical presence, that's something physical.
Yes.
The energy
Very
is something physical.
Yes.
I understand, but I think when you begin to try to explain to us that God will take on a physical presence, that means that He is
not take on. God has a physical presence.
But you were saying that He will manifest Himself to us so that we would be able to withstand His presence.
Yes.
That means that He has to do something outside of Himself
Yes.
in order for us to see Him or to be with
No,
Him.
God will physically come here.
No, I'm not saying
Surah
He's not
8
going
and 9.
to physically come here, but He's going to make it. There's got to be some kind of shield or something.
That's removed.
No, that He has to put on it for us to be with Him.
No, this is it. The shield will be
that's
removed.
it.
And this is when
Will
the weak
shield be
souls will
removed
run
from
away.
us?
Yes,
Him.
yes, from us.
When Satan
I'm asking Rashad.
Yes.
Will the shield be removed from us or removed from Him?
The shield right now is distance. The
Shield.
shield right now is distance. Okay. Now, I have an appendix.
I'm still not getting it.
Okay, we will, inshallah. I have an appendix that says, who is God? Okay. In this translation. And it tells you how vast our universe is. Okay. 26 billion light years across. A billion galaxies. Surrounded by 6 other greater universes. Now the outer limit of the first universe, if you are number 7, and the universe closest to God is number 1, mathematically is infinite, but it is not infinite. Mathematically it's so huge you cannot comprehend it. There is no number in the universe that will tell us how long its circumference.
In our physical understanding,
Right.
our limited mind.
Right. Okay, imagine the Earth, the solar system, 4 billion
I
miles.
can't imagine.
No, imagine the sun. Where is the sun? You imagine the sun because you see it every day.
92 million miles.
93
years.
93 million miles. 93 million miles. Only 8 light minutes. 8 minutes from us. Only 8 minutes. Now keep going for 100,000 years at the speed of light. If you take off right now towards the sun at the speed of light, you'll get there in 8 minutes. Now keep going, not for a day or a month or a year, 100,000 years. We'll get to the edge of our galaxy. Now this galaxy, huge as it is, there are 1 billion of those. And this is inside our universe, the smallest universe. Let's call it universe number 7. See, I'm glad you're laughing. Okay? Because we're beginning to comprehend the greatness of God. We'll talk about the physical entity of God. This vast universe is the smallest of 7 universes. We call it universe number 7. Universe number 6 is bigger, number 5 is even bigger, number 4 is bigger, number 3, 2, number 1. The circumference of number 1 is utterly infinite. But it is not really infinite. We're using the word infinite to describe how huge it is. Now this infinite volume or size is within God's hand. That's what God is telling us. So how big is God? That's the greatness of God. This is the physical entity of God. Yes, mashallah.
The hand is allegorical.
Yes, the hand is allegorical. But you can think of me, for example, in my hand, and within my hand is this infinite. So if you can call the outer limit of the outer universe infinite, what would you call God? Huh? Say it again. Triple infinite. So there's no such thing, but there are different infinities. Okay, are we grasping this size?
Yeah, I'm hearing it. Now, as large as this is what I'm trying to get grasped now.
Yeah.
Now, as large as Allah is,
Right.
He must then make Himself smaller
No.
to come to move into our presence.
No, but the relative distance can be closer or farther. We see it in Surah 53. Now this is not, if I am theorizing, folks, don't listen to me, but I'm not theorizing. I'm saying what God says in Surah 53.
Yeah, He'll move closer.
God took Muhammad from the planet Earth and He took him somewhere in the universe. And then God tells us He came closer, as close as possible. If God came any closer, Muhammad will
So,
disappear.
are you saying that Allah is
Yes.
His?
Yes, say it.
He's limited in terms of what He has created? I mean, is He ruled by certain law too? Is Allah being governed? Because you're saying that He only moved.
God is the lawmaker. God
Okay.
is the lawmaker.
But
He can make
but
laws.
He's also being governed by His own law.
He adheres to his own laws that he makes.
Is that what
Well,
you're
of
saying?
course, He makes the laws and He abides by. For example, God does not advocate sin. Okay, this is the law. God follows. God does that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So God is telling us that He moved closer. And God tells us in 89:22 that He will come to this world and that the heavens will fold like a book. You hear about the stars crashing into each other? The Quran? Why? Because of this immense energy. I mean, how big are the stars? The sun is one of the dim stars. Did you know that?
One of the small ones.
We had a conference here at the University of Arizona across the street about the bright stars. It's a conference about the bright stars. You know what the definition of a bright star is? This is science now. A bright star is at least 1 million times as bright as our sun. Our sun is a very, very dim star. Just look at the street out there. How many candles can you light to overcome it? Okay, put your finger in the sunlight, you see the shadow. Now light a number of candles to
equal that
erase
shadow.
this shadow.
You can't. It's too much. It's a lot.
And that is one of the dim. That is one of the dim stars. What happened?
My God. Does that
Yes.
mean that we have a shield over us, and it's when it's time for us to see Allah, is the shield be missing?
No, the shield is distance. Sorry. The shield is simply distance.
Oh, okay, let me ask you a question.
The shield, this body, the shield, the body as a shield is between us and the other dimension,
Well,
which is an invisible dimension.
when you say who's
Where the jinns and the angels are.
well,
They see us, we don't see them. Did you read that in the Quran?
Yes. So this is the veil that will be removed.
You know,
The
folks,
veil-
you know,
the veil
when
is
we're
the
through with this, when you stand and say Allahu Akbar, you will not say it the way you used to say it anymore.
It's true. We really know Him.
Yes, when you say God is great, it's going to have a whole different meaning because we're coming into this appreciation and Farid is crying, Barbara is
what I want to say is this.
Your cry, she makes me cry.
Sister is crying, yes.
When you say that, you said
MashaAllah.
that the only barrier is distance,
Yes,
but you're also saying that we cannot withstand
yes,
presence.
yes.
So, upon death and
Yes.
losing our physical.
Right, you better be ready to be in that presence.
To be ready to handle it.
How do you be ready? How do you get ready? You do the 5 prayers, you follow God's laws, you fast the month of Ramadan. God is number one, not number one, the only one in your priorities. And so this is how you, because every time you have anything to do with God, your soul is growing. Your muscles are getting stronger. You say Subhanallah, you're thinking about God, you're doing what we're doing now, your soul is growing. Because your soul emanated from God. And this is how it will grow, by serving God. Now, I don't want any of us to freak out because we're discussing this, because all we're doing is reading what God is telling us. Okay? It's just we have to be cool and quiet about and see what God is telling us. God's greatness is incomprehensible. I want to go through it again, because this will clarify the concept of infinity or lack of it. If you take off right now at the speed of light, you will get to the sun 93 million miles away. New York is 3,000 miles. New York is 3,000 miles. And you think it came a long distance, right? Okay, you take off 93 million miles, you get there in 8 minutes. At the speed of light, you get to the sun in 8 minutes. Now keep going, don't stop at the sun. For a month, then a year, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 centuries. Let us go for 100,000 years. 100,000 years at the speed of light. Now you left the sun back there after 8 minutes of your takeoff.
Good God.
Alright? I'm glad you're laughing because this means you're understanding it. After 100,000 years, David, you get to the border of our galaxy, the Milky Way. Our galaxy. Now you know how far you have to go for the next one, the neighbor? 2 million light years. The next galaxy. Just to get to the border of the next galaxy. Because these galaxies are units within the universe, like this. This is a unit, this is another unit. So from this unit to this unit, you travel 2 million, not 8 minutes, 2 million years at the speed of light.
You mean no place galaxies?
No, it's one of the galaxies. The Milky Way. There are 1 billion of those. So now think of our universe, which is, God says this is the smallest universe, where the humans and the jinns exist. 26 billion light years. You have to travel to 26 billion light years. By the way, if you just count the stars that we have in our universe, it will take you 32 billion years, which is older than the universe. Just count it, 1 second per star. Okay, so this is now, we're talking now about a vast, vast universe, and this is the smallest of 7 universes. Now think of the bigger one, the next one, which is even bigger. How about the following one, which is even bigger? And keep going bigger, and then you go to the first universe. That is, you cannot, there is no number that will tell us what the circumference is, how long it is. There is no number in the universe that describes that. And that is within God's hand. Just to give us a picture of how great God is. So if we can mathematically call the outer limit of the first universe infinite, what can we call God? So figuratively speaking, we pull the rug from under Satan's feet and we say, yes, figuratively, God is infinite. Because of this incomprehensible greatness. But God is telling us there is a physical presence and certain lines where you can move, God moves closer or farther. And God is telling this in His Word. So we are being alerted to what Satan is telling us. Satan is very tricky. First, he wants to prevent us from ever coming to God. But if we insist and we come to God, then he pushes to that extreme. He says, okay, do just 5 prayers, do 20. And he will give you things that will appeal to your religiousness that you insisted on.
Rashad, I just want to bear witness to God for His immense mercy and blessings upon all of us here, and to just give thanks to Allah for giving us the messenger, because you are the messenger of God. You're quoting
the Quran. God says it's message from God that He sends to among us a message. I'm talking as one of you.
Nobody could explain something so huge in understanding in such a manner that the human mind in this dimension could understand it. I mean,
I'm really gratified when I see David's laugh.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm gratified because it really shows he grasped it. He knew exactly what I'm talking about. And these are sciences now. It is no longer speculation. This is, you go take astronomy and this is what will tell you.
And we never took astronomy. We don't know
right.
physics, but you gave us physics, science, astronomy.
Time Life books. They have series on the universe. I think I have a couple of them sitting here. These are physical facts. We travel at the speed of light per minute. We had Voyager go across the solar system. We know exactly how far everything is and what the sizes are.
I just received a book from and it's called Space Time Infinity.
Right.
Where did you get it from?
Yes.
So I just received it about maybe 2 weeks ago. I haven't started reading it yet. My parents found things also.
Right.
So I believe it's right on time.
Now they're talking about infinity within God's hand.
In God's hand.
Yes. Within God's hand by millions of fractions, very tight, minute fractions. Because they're talking only about the smallest of the universe. Smallest of 7 universes.
In Bombay there is a show it's a show which has come from the United States being shown in the planetarium. I haven't seen it, but a good friend of mine saw it and he said they've calculated and said that it's no longer a billion galaxies. They have estimated 3,000 billion galaxies.
Yes. They stopped counting.
Yes, and they say they're growing faster.
It's
probably growing faster than human population.
See, they counted the galaxies. We're talking about galaxies. We're not talking about solar systems or stars. We're talking about galaxies. So when they reach 1 billion, people forget it. We're going to stop here.
The fact that we are so insignificant in size.
Yes, God bless you.
And the universe, the 7 heavens is so vast.
Yes.
Is there another purpose? Or is there a greater purpose outside of ourselves as far as the universe is concerned in terms of the world?
No.
So
The whole purpose is in 51, 56. That's the whole purpose.
And it's
Just
growing
one
faster
thing.
than
Just one purpose, and that is to redeem ourselves, to denounce our idolatry. Did you see how difficult it is to talk the Muhammadans out of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah? You see the blasphemy putting a tiny, insignificant creature called Muhammad, put his name next to God. You see the blasphemy now?
And God is creating galaxies for every human child that's born.
What can you put next to God that will have some significance? You put 10 galaxies?
Oh,
La ilaha illallah, there are 10 galaxies in the universe.
You know what?
I mean, what is the comparison of Muhammad to 10 galaxies?
Okay, so that's what I'm asking. I'm asking, great as the seven universes are and the vast they are, the sole purpose of this creation was because of us.
Yes,
My
to be
God.
redeemed. In order to be right, God bless you, David.
And he created six more.
What to say that?
More universes.
The Jewish.
And we still
Wonderful,
fail him.
wonderful. Yes. Huh?
And we
Yes.
still fail him. There are
Yes.
some physical paradoxes which I just wanted to mention for being evaluated by you. One is that it says God has certain limitations. One, he cannot create another being that has no birth and no death, because when he creates it will have a birth. So he cannot create another being.
Cannot say God cannot. You know.
Yes.
It's rather blasphemous to say
Right.
God cannot.
And another blasphemous paradox which
Yes.
people have addressed to me is to say he can't.
Create a rock that they
Yes,
can't
yes,
get.
yes, yes.
Yes, the absurdities.
We can't. Yeah, we shouldn't think of these things because it's not right.
Yeah, you must think of them, you must attack them and nullify them.
No, but
Don't let them
I
linger
can't
anymore.
answer him by saying that it is the moment God creates, it has a beginning.
Yes,
So
exactly.
therefore he can.
They're called illegal questions. they're questions that make themselves impossible.
Paradox.
Right, paradoxes. Right.
In reference to Allah and ourselves, seven universes, when Allah comes toward us,
Yes, mashallah.
and we understand that each universe has different laws, and since our earth will change,
Yes.
will this affect all the seven universes?
Yes, yes, yes. The seven universes will be folded like a book. Watch this. When God comes to the seven universes. So God says in Surah 39.
How to
What happens when you put a hydrogen bomb over Tucson? What will happen? Huh? It's going to be a canyon. It will be a Grand Canyon. It will be a Grand Canyon here.
So the infinity equals 1. How to prove that to some atheist?
Pardon?
You know, God number 2, 3, 4, infinity equals
Okay, an
1.
infinity of gods equals one infinite God. It's mathematics.
Equals
One
one
infinite.
infinite.
She just keep on going and going and going forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll use Satan's terminology to defeat him.
Infinite God.
Yes.
An infinity of gods
Is one
Yes,
infinite
is
God.
equals one infinite God.
Infinite gods, G small, is equal to
Still a
1.
paradox.
Right, but
It's still a paradoxical statement. Circular in motion. And reasoning.
that's fine, but this will shut him up. There's no,
Wait,
we can't
shut
go
him
any
up.
further. Yes, and because we have finite minds.
Yes.
So as he wants, he's trying to take advantage of our finite mind. We're taking advantage of his finite mind and shutting him up. So you just stop.
Rashad,
Because he cannot argue with this.
my question is this.
Uh-oh.
Them, I discussed with them a lot in Turkey. There is a very different way to shut their mouth. It is, I say, who created this material, this galaxy? They say there is no being. I say it is the same for my God.
Right.
Then
Exactly.
you also have the same problem.
Yes.
You have to say who created it. You say it is
There's no beginning.
I say the same thing for my God.
Yes.
My God knows everything. Your God is material, and you have many gods, and they have no conscience, they have no control, and you believe those stupid gods that believe that God controls everything, and you came up with a question that also you have this question. First, you give me an answer.
I think that what has happened is that even for myself as well as Chester, alarm goes off, and you begin to speak in God in a physical type of sense. But we've always grown up to try to not fall into that trap as far as Jesus and
Exactly.
all those other
See,
things.
when you understand.
An alarm
Yes.
goes off,
Yeah.
and so in terms of when we begin to try to grasp God in a physical sense, something human starts
Tends
to
to
come
come in.
about.
Exactly.
So, you know,
That's
the
it.
problems start. So, in terms of, we have to work it out.
That's
You know, so I think we begin to
I think
work
we've
that out.
attempted.
You know, when we get a glimpse of God's greatness, you realize the blasphemy of idol worship, the only unforgivable offense. Now, this idiot vice president of Islamic University of Medina says, "Is that all, God? Is that all you have?" I mean, can you imagine the blasphemy? How will he face God on the day of judgment when he knows what we will know?
What else?
Is this all? You want to put next to God
Yes, right.
Muhammad? You can put Muhammad, Jesus, Abraham, Moses, you and me, and the whole solar system. When it's zero. It's nothing. Mathematically, it's nothing. Like I said, La ilaha illallah, 10 galaxies of creatures of God. A million galaxies. Put them next to God, where will they go? If our whole universe is the smallest, I mean, look at the humiliation that God is doing to Satan. Within the smallest universe, God gives him a tiny planet called the Earth. He says, this is yours, Satan, just if you can run it.
It might be a very good idea just to show them something like this colliding galaxies show on a video.
Yes.
Then it will really kill all of everybody.
Yes. In fact, I do have this in the videotape of the mathematical miracle of the Quran. I have it's all in between